Years ago, there was this lawsuit where someone was going through the drive-thru at McDonald's. I think it was like a 79-year-old lady, and she was handed her coffee through the drive-thru window, at which time it spills onto her lap. There was a lawsuit, and they ended up having to pay this lady $160,000 because of third-degree burns on her pelvic region. Well, you think that's crazy? Turns out not so crazy, because this week, someone, specifically a delivery driver, got 3 teas handed to them through a drive-thru window. Now, it just so happens that all of this tea would spill, and he would be awarded $50 million by Starbucks. No, you didn't hear me wrong. 50 million. Now, if there's another way to make a lot of money, you would have to be friends with Mr. Beast, but as it turns out, his TV show, which was Beast Games, has been renewed for a second season, which is rumored to have a $15 million prize pool. So not as much as getting hot tea spilt on your groin at Starbucks, but turns out Mr. Beast is paying almost as much. Now, moving a little bit more into our region of things, this week, Xbox actually announced a bunch of attachments that will actually go on the Xbox controllers for people who are disabled, maybe not able to use the normal Call of Duty controller. But when I saw this, the first thing I thought of was your mom's nightside table. Now, those are some of the things that happened in the world this week, but more specifically, this show is all about video games. And there's a lot to happen here. There is a lot coming very, very soon. So the next few weeks are going to be absolutely wild. And that's why we have the Weekly Reload. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Weekly Reload, the weekly news show where we dive into everything video games with a little bit of a focus on first-person shooters and Call of Duty. This week is, if anything, a ramp-up week for Call of Duty, as the first thing that we got this week was the Season 2 ending cinematic.
A few years back, when I finally got out of the hospital, this was waiting on my doorstep. Asshole was still doing his job from the fucking grave.
Now, this cinematic is an interesting one because it truly had more to do with the overall Black Ops story than any other season so far. We heard Frank Woods and we see the return of Russell Adler moving into Avalon. And we also get a hint at the next character who would be coming, oddly, Jason Hudson. Now, I have a video going over exactly what's going on narratively here. If you want to check it out, it'll be linked down in the description. But needless to say, like Call of Duty and Black Ops always is, it's very, very confusing. And speaking of confusing promotions, the next one that we have is the Verdansk promo image. Now, in this image, we have characters that are dead, like Jason Hudson. We have characters from 1984. We have characters from 1991. We have characters from 2022 and everything in between. They are ranging all the time periods, but one thing that they are not doing is showing off really ridiculous and crazy skins, so they're starting to get an idea of what people wanted. The other thing that they revealed this Friday is the first look at the new map, or at least the overview of the new map. And needless to say, it's, I think, exactly the same as the original Verdansk back from 2020. So the other thing that came out in Call of Duty this week, and this is a really interesting one if you ask me, is player numbers. So right now, as of February 2025, this month, Call of Duty HQ, so Call of Duty, was the second most played game on PlayStation. On Xbox, it is somehow still number 1. However, where things are more interesting is year to date, just in 2025, Black Ops 6 has dropped to the number 4 game. Previous years, Call of Duty normally stays in pretty much the top 2 or 3 spots almost throughout the entire year. So to see it already at number 4 is pretty wild if you ask me. Now, if you're a Zombies fan, you have been waiting for the new Zombies map reveal all week. They started teasing it with a bunch of pictures of various locations on the map. And then earlier this week, they revealed the name, which is going to be the Shattered Veil. And then nothing. No trailer, no cinematic, no nothing. So that is essentially it for the Season 3 information. We have not seen a Zombies trailer, no gameplay trailer for Verdansk, no gameplay trailer or any information as far as multiplayer goes. So in other words, next week is going to be a very, very big week. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications on, because I truly believe it's going to be a wild one. But while we're talking about zombies, do you remember that guy by the name of Jason Blundell? He was one of the head people narratively and zombies design-wise back at Treyarch. Well, as it turns out, he has a brand new studio. This studio goes by the name of the Dark Outlaw Studios, and they're specifically going to be a first-party studio for PlayStation. His quote was, "I've had the amazing opportunity to create a new studio within PlayStation Studios for Sony. The studio is called Dark Outlaw." No idea what he's making, but the logo for the studio does look a little bit like the Shadow Man, but don't get ahead of yourself. It's probably not going to be a zombies game, but we can always hope. Now with Verdansk right around the corner, the one thing that we know is they can't just bring back the map and hope that the game does well. Things like the anti-cheat need to do well as well. Well, as it turns out, Call of Duty is not the only game having problems with this. Someone by the name of Mixwell, who was a pro for CSGO and Valorant, put out a tweet saying this: "I've never said this before, but Valorant is in a really bad state. There's so many cheaters, it's literally unplayable. I really hope we can change just for the better, because it will become another CS where you can't play in-game ranked mode and enjoy it. Even with 5-stack, we get cheaters. Absolute disaster." Now, we've seen for a while that people have really not been happy with the anti-cheat in Call of Duty, but as you can see by things like this, it appears as though almost every single game is having this problem. We've known for a long time that CS has had this problem. Now, Valorant, the golden child, the poster child, if you will, for having the good anti-cheat, which is always running in the background, apparently is no longer working. Now, I would call this a tinfoil hat theory of the week, but I don't even really know if you want to call it that, because for years now, it's been a cat and mouse game. Someone makes a cheat, the cheat stoppers stop it, and then they make an anti-cheat for that thing, and then the cheat makers find a new way of making it, and then they stop it, and then they make it, and then they stop it. Well, I will give credit where credit is due. Activision and Call of Duty are trying to start a precedent this week where they are not just going to stop it, they are going monetarily after the people who are creating the hacks. And the more they do this and the more it goes through legislation, the easier it will be for them to go after them in the long run. This is actually a really good thing for video games as a whole and not just Call of Duty, because as we can see, it's not just Call of Duty that's suffering from hackers. It's Valorant, it is CounterStrike, it is pretty much any online multiplayer game, and there is no good answer to this. Maybe if they start suing everyone, maybe it does some good for the community. Now, while we're talking about Counter-Strike, check this out. CounterStrike 1.6 is 25 years old, and with it, there is a mod coming out that is called CS Legacy that is going to be a complete recreation of everything from Counter-Strike 1.6. Now, here's the thing with this one. It's a mod. Historically, Valve has been pretty good with mods, but when mods become more popular than the current game, sometimes cease and desists go out, sometimes takedowns go out, and I am worried for this one because, needless to say, it's looking good, and I think it's something exactly like the community wants to see. So will this eventually hit the Steam store? We can all hope so, but for me, my fingers are crossed. Now, speaking of GOAT video games, here's another one. This is PowerWash Simulator 2, and I don't know why this game was good. If you didn't play PowerWash Simulator 1, it was probably the video game equivalent to scrolling through TikTok and seeing an ASMR video pop up while you are trying to go to bed. There's something about that game that is just so satisfying, and they're making a second one. Now, speaking of games that came out or are coming out, we have the first game that came out this week that is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, Now, as of right now on OpenCritic, it has an 81%. I actually did a review for this over on Ink TV, link down below. And as far as my thoughts on this game, I'll keep it short. There's a much longer version up on that channel. But basically, if you liked Assassin's Creed Valhalla and you like the most recent Assassin's Creed games, you're getting more of the exact same thing, but in Japan. The gameplay is really, really fun, but it's just the same thing over and over and over and over again in the same region that looks exactly the same throughout the entire game. So if you enjoy that gameplay enough, you basically have 60 plus hours of it throughout this game. So if you really enjoy this, you're really, really going to enjoy it. If you get bored by it, you're going to be really, really bored by it. That's essentially how it works. But the other thing with this is Ubisoft. Ubisoft is in a really, really bad position. They have basically failed on all fronts. After their Star Wars game didn't have a very good response, and now with Assassin's Creed not really going gangbusters, it seems like the writing's on the wall. And apparently, companies like EA and Microsoft are drooling because they are trying to put in offers. However, Ubisoft is holding off offers until May, as maybe they have one last effort before that happens. Now, they do have some IPs in mind, like Rainbow Six Siege X, their new update, as well as Assassin's Creed still doing decent, already selling 1 million copies, or at least having 1 million players. They might have a chance to survive, but May should be that time that we find out. Now, there is one other game that is coming out next week that I have already got my hands on, and that is Atomfall. So I actually got my hands on this game early. There's 3 hours of gameplay over on Ink TV already, so be sure to go check out that channel. There's a ton going up over there. But this game is shocking to me. I haven't put out a review for it yet. It'll go out on that channel on Wednesday. But as far as this game, discoverability and exploration and mystery, I have not played a game in a very long time that does puzzles and environmental storytelling as well as this game. Now, don't get me wrong, there's problems with it. Some of the gameplay doesn't feel the best. The AI isn't the smartest, but the story that this thing tells, oh man, I'm even considering doing a story video on this game on this channel later this week. But I don't know with how busy we're going to be with season 3. We'll have to wait and see. If that's something you'd want to see, show me by hitting that like button. So all in all, a bit shorter of a week this week. Nothing new with GTA, nothing new with Battlefield, just some new games coming out. And moving into April, we definitely have some games that we're going to be checking out. So if you enjoy these type of videos, it is really, really appreciated if you hit that like button. This is a brand new series, and to see you guys enjoying it always really tickles my fancy. Why does that saying sound so weird? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Go get your mom some attachments for the Xbox controller, and until next time, peace.